lean in for the nugget. Neither President Biden nor President Zelensky will survive this war. Now that President Biden has got COVID, he told us last week he had cancer, which came as something of a surprise to the members of his cabinet and the people who in overwhelming numbers, we're told, voted him in as the President of the United States. Whether or not he just got the C words mixed up, he meant to say he had COVID and said he had cancer, who can tell? Least of all, Joe Biden. But we know he's got COVID. The question is, will he survive it? I have my doubts. If I was Mrs. Biden, I'd carefully check what the doctors were bringing in their bags, what medication they were applying. Because when your public opinion poll ratings fall to the lowest ever suffered by any president of the United States, including Richard Nixon at the height of Watergate, you have got political problems. And when your vice president is as unpopular as Richard Nixon's vice president, Spiro Agnew, who ended up in prison after all, then you've got double political problems. But Joe Biden is sinking in the polls so fast, I'll be surprised if they don't use COVID as the excuse to shuffle him off the stage before he falls off it, before wandering around like a ghost in the White House looking for the lavatory. He accidentally stumbles over the nuclear football and triggers World War III. Not that he's not trying to trigger World War III entirely on purpose. And that brings me to President Zelensky. He won't survive the war either. In fact, I want to be the first to say that President Zelensky did not commit suicide. If he suicided, it came as a great surprise, especially to him. The United States have said that he should step up his personal security. You would have thought that that was already well taken care of and not capable of being stepped up. After all, he is the president in the middle of a raging war. So how much more security can he afford himself of? You would have thought that the United States of America, which has invested hundreds of billions of dollars in his presidency, would at least ensure that his personal security was taken care of. But it was the United States itself who said that his security was now in greater danger and that he should step up his personal security. I think they mean that there are elements at large inside his regime which has been politically cleansed in the last 10 days. He has sacked at least a quarter of his cabinet and many of his top officials in the legal, political, and military field. And maybe the US has a hint that there is a coup in preparation against him. That wouldn't be a surprise. After all, he came to power as a result of a coup. Coups are Ukraine. Ukraine is coups. Coups are them. And in the most corrupt country in the entire continent of Europe, and there's quite a bit of competition for that title. Who knows if money has changed hands in order to get the political leadership to change hands, if you get my drift. Whatever happens to Zelensky, Russia will get the blame for it, even though if Russia had wanted to kill him, he would have been fertilizer in the first 48 hours of the war. But they have no wish to remove him. Indeed, they have explicitly stated that until the last couple of days, because it has become increasingly clear that with the current regime in Kiev, there will be no end to this war. And in fact, as was said by Mr. Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia, just in the last 48 hours, Ukraine as a state runs the risk of disappearing from the map. And that would be a very great pity. It's not what I myself want. I don't think it's what the Russian leadership wants. It's certainly not what I want. It's not what I think needed to happen. Indeed, I have opposed the war in Ukraine since the day that it started, with the overthrow of the elected government in Kiev in 2014. I've opposed every single death in the war in Ukraine since 2014. The problem is, a lot of people in the world, including a lot of useful idiots, have no idea that the war started in 2014. They think that it started on the 24th of February of 2022. And it's that little knowledge which is dangerous. Because, of course, if you don't know that the war had been raging for 8 long years before the Russians entered the country, then you have no idea of what the reasons for this war are, and therefore no idea how we're going to be able to bring it to an end. One thing is certain. By pouring more and more money, war materiel, political and diplomatic support into the failed state of Ukraine, you're not going to bring about peace. You are merely going to prolong the agony. And the agony is largely being suffered. First, by the people of Ukraine, but second, by the people of Europe. Third, by the people of North America. Fourth, by the people of Australia and New Zealand. And that's about it, because nobody else has joined the economic war against Russia. To the absolute consternation of the propagandists in the West, Sergei Lavrov, the wisest foreign minister on the planet, I say that without any hint of equivocation, was in Cairo this week, meeting the leaders of much of the world, who were warmly lining up to shake his hand. You probably didn't see it in Western mainstream media because it slayed the lie that Russia is isolated. All the African leaders, all the Arab leaders were lining up to shake the hand of the Russian foreign minister, warmly. He was on the phone to MBS, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, just 24 hours ago, President Putin that is, for a 60-minute conversation that was described by the diplomats as extremely cordial. Russia is not isolated, it's us that are isolated. Russia is not suffering, as the Prime Minister of Hungary just said today, from the economic war we have launched against it. It's us that are suffering. It's a suicide, kamikaze mission that by deepening and deepening, we're ensuring greater and greater carnage for ourselves. 4 governments have now fallen in Europe. 4 of the governments that began the war against Russia have now fallen, and more of them are likely to fall. It is a truism that Germany is facing a bitter, long, cold winter with mass unemployment and with the presence in its country of millions upon millions of refugees, and at the same time a far-right AfD neo-Nazi party in parliament, in local government, in numbers. What could possibly go wrong? At a time when Germany is now spending more money on defense than it has since Hitler was toppled by the Red Army in 1945. What could possibly go wrong in this picture? A collapsing German economy, a revanchist rising right, millions of scapegoats readily available. What could possibly go wrong? And of course, it's not just in Germany. All over Europe, the farmers of all people have risen up in a general agricultural uprising, started in the Netherlands, spread to Germany, Poland, Italy, and now France. I don't know about British farmers. Probably too few of them and too, I don't know, phlegmatic and stoic. But if they ever did get up off their tractor seats, we would be in big trouble too, because nobody needs politicians. Nobody needs journalists and broadcasters. Everybody needs farmers. And yet we in the West have been following an anti-farming agenda as we worship the gods of greenery and a 15-year-old girl, Greta Thunberg. That's who's making our energy policies. That's who's making our agricultural policies. Kill the cows, they're farting too much. Stop eating meat, because you need cows that fart. You get my picture here. We are being led by the nose, like sheep to the slaughter, by people who either don't know, don't understand, or don't care what the consequences for us, the ordinary people of even the Western countries. You see, we're supposed to be the free countries. We're supposed to be the free societies, the democracies, but increasingly that's not true. You can vote, of course, to change the government, but you can't vote to change the policies. The policies are within the narrow parameters of the prevailing orthodoxy of neoliberal economics at home and imperialist foreign policies abroad, with a big, big dose of wokery and greenery thrown in, garnishing the unpalatable plate that we have been served up, and there's nothing else on the menu. If you dare to have even a scintilla of difference about your political approach, like, say, Jeremy Corbyn, you will be systematically destroyed. If it's not too unpalatable an allusion, you'll be sliced like salami. First they'll come for him, then they'll come for her, then him, then her, then him, then her, and then eventually you. And because you were struck dumb, stage stumm, when they were slicing everybody else, when they come for you, there's nobody left to protest. Pastor Niemöller perfectly expressed it. At the depth of the German Holocaust, first they came for the Jews, and I was not a Jew, so I did not protest. Then they came for the communists. Then they came for the trade unionists. Then they came for the social democrats. I was not any of those, so I did not protest. And then they came for me, and there was nobody left to protest. That's what Jeremy Corbyn did. And he did it to one of my guests this evening, Chris Williamson, the erstwhile Member of Parliament for Derby North. And we'll be talking to him about his new book, 10 Years of Hard Labour. I wish I'd only done 10 years of hard labour, Chris. I'd done 36 years of hard labour. And Jeremy Corbyn was outside the hall protesting when I was expelled. Unfortunately, when he became the leader, he pretended I no longer existed. So that's the fare that's on the table for you tonight in the mother of all talk shows. If you are in the United Kingdom or Ireland, you can ring me free of charge on 08081 965522. That's 08081 965522. It's entirely free, as indeed it is if you're calling from the United States and Canada. It will cost you nothing. It's +1 844 944 3344. That's +1 844 944 3344. Now here's the poll. Should Prime Minister Boris Johnson be on the Tory leadership ballot? A, yes. B, no. And thousands of people have already voted. And here's the results so far on my Twitter account. Yes, he should be on the ballot. 56%, no 44%. Quite a high level of no's there. On my YouTube channel, and can I make this point in parenthesis? Nearly half of the people watching this show on YouTube have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel. I'm asking you to do that. It costs you nothing. This show costs you nothing. I'm working for nothing. It's not too much to ask for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, so please do it before you leave me this evening.